Today marks 516 consecutive days of getting my shit done, getting my power list done every single day. Back in the beginning of 2023, so January 1st, I started off on my power list. And if you don't know what the power list is, go check out Andy Frisella's podcast. He breaks it all down. And it's just a system of you break down 5 things every day that move the needle forward, and you do those every single day. But at the beginning of 2023, I had a year like reflecting back on 2022 where I had a couple periods of my life where I felt like I was on moving life forward, and then a couple periods of my life where nothing moved forward, where I felt like I was just in a rut. And I was ending 2022 like that. And so I was ending 2022 feeling like I was in a little bit of a rut. I was visiting my parents for a little over a week. And those days where, especially, I wasn't doing anything with my power list at all, I just felt like an absolute loser. So it was like the wake up call I needed, though, that when I got back, like New Year's hit, and I was like, all right, we're off to the races. I don't care what happens this year, but it was my goal of like, how can I just force myself to do my power list every single day? It's like when I'm doing it every single day, I feel like I have momentum in life. Things are moving forward. There's energy, and it's just when I feel my absolute best. So I want everything possible to just stay in flow. And so when I started 2023, I just was in that mindset of, all right, I've got my goal for the year. This is what I'm working on. We're just going to get it done every single day. So about this time too, I came across a story about Jerry Seinfeld and what he was talking about. And I think this was back in the 80s when he was first coming up and first starting in his career, is the way he was able to gamify it was every single day making sure that he would sit down and write. And then he'd have this big calendar on his wall and he'd knock off a big X every single day. And then how he described it is all I would do is try not to break the chain. Like, don't break the chain. That was the one thing I had to do every single day. And so at that point, life became like a game to him. And so he'd write every single day, and it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It's just every single day he was writing, which is the same idea behind the pr30 challenge. Is you're just recording videos every single day, not so much worried about whether they're good or not or judging them in that perspective. But that ended up being one of the most powerful years of my life. Over the course of 2023, I won like 350 something consecutive days. There's a couple days in there where I was super sick, traveling for work, traveling to see family. So it ended up being about 5 or 6 days that were like skip days for me. It's not that I didn't do my stuff, but I was completely wrapped up the entire day. Before the day, I gave myself a pass on that. Just focus on seeing family or just focus on not feeling so sick. COVID hit me hard. But over the course of that year, with life feeling more like a game, I noticed my skills, my sales skills, and then my marketing skills increased exponentially. I also started investing more in myself. So spending a lot more time going through courses, going through mentorships. And it was crazy just how much like the little progress, but doing it every single day for the whole year compounded. Like everybody at work noticed. A lot of people in my personal life noticed as well. And so it was cool seeing how quickly those skills could come along. Things I thought were going to take years ended up just taking a few short months, and I was extremely focused and just focused on one thing at a time. But then the other side of that was being focused on the power list so much. I was always in that like state of momentum. So don't get me wrong, there's still hard days and there's like those challenge days where you don't want to do anything. You just got to push through it, like grit your teeth and just know that's coming. But I felt way more emotionally consistent because like I've got my things figured out. And at the end of that, you can just be a person rather than focus on doing another thing and another thing. It's just get your 5 things done and then you can live the rest of your day how you want to do it. Not trying to do anything crazy here. But it was like a sense of freedom that I didn't have when every single day I was just trying to do a million and one things and not actually getting anything done. So just sticking to the 5 things on the power list, getting those done, and then just having the sense of relief, like nothing else matters today. I can just live my life. I don't need to be stressing about work or starting a business or all these things. What do I actually want to do? And then through that, it just lowered my stress. Throughout the day, I actually felt joy. I actually and just saw Inside Out 2 last night. And just, I feel like once I got the momentum going, I was just joy all the time. That might be a little bit of an overstatement, but that was a big part of it. Then the last part of it, I think that just comes with life feeling more like a game, because that's what Jerry Seinfeld was talking about. When all you're trying to do is not break the streak, like life starts to feel more like a game. Life feels like a game. You're not taking it so seriously. You're not stressing as much. I notice a lot of times when I am feeling way more stressed, it's because I'm just taking myself way too seriously. So being able to sit down and cross off my things for the day, but then relax. Like I kept the game going. I kept the ball rolling. And there's that energy of life where you're moving things forward, but you also have the freedom of not having to work all day or having to always be stressed about this or that. So I'd say some of the biggest things I've learned now over the 516 days for right around that year and a half of doing this is first is like making sure a big calendar on the wall, or I simply just track it in my daily planner, journal, power list thing, is making sure that there's a way that you can see it counting up. The big X's on the wall would be awesome. I don't know where or if my girlfriend's going to want me to put a big calendar on the wall just so I can cross things off. But just seeing that number count up in my daily power list ends up working extremely. But I would say the part that, but looking back on it, like what I wish I would have known going into it is the days that were going to be the hardest is there's always going to be days throughout that are just going to be challenging. Just like those challenge days where you just got to grit your teeth, get through it. But I found specifically from day like 7 to 21 were just like the most miserable because the streak's not long enough at that point. Day 1 to 7, you're excited, you got the ball rolling. Day 7 to 21, it's not a long enough streak, or how it almost hurts to start over because now 516, like there's no way I'm going to lose that streak. Knock on wood. But it would take a lot for me to lose that streak. Whereas 7 to 21, it's almost like I could lose that just for the fact that it didn't take extremely long to get to, and you're just in a little bit of that lull or the excitement's faded, but you're not quite in that sense of momentum yet. So those days are going to be the hardest. But then there's going to be random days throughout where I just call them challenge days at this point, where it's like I know for some reason this day is unnecessarily hard. Anything different than I'm doing the other 365 days of the year, 364 if it's not a leap year. But for some reason that day is just hard. But once you get past that 7 and 21 days, because what ended up happening in the past is just me being a little bit on and off, and I would be super consistent for a while, and I would break past that 7 to 21 days, but then I would hit the 3-4 month mark. And then usually what would happen is I'd have a long weekend or something. I'd get a little bit sick or something like that. It'd throw me off for a couple days, and I'd have the hardest time getting that momentum back. So it's almost like I completely lose it and then trying to get back into my daily routine. And it just felt like an uphill battle. The big switch for me that helped me not feel I lost the momentum every couple months and allowed me to actually keep doing it for 1 quarter, 2 quarters, past a year, and now almost a year and a half, was every quarter doing a check-in. So at that check-in, reassessing what my goal is, what progress I've made, what my core values are, really just refocusing on where I'm trying to go and how much progress I've made so far, but then also what needs to happen in the next 3 months so that way I keep moving towards that bigger goal. And I just lead those quarterly reviews, and I do more reviews than that, yearly ones and then weekly ones, just to stay on track. They're a little bit shorter. But I've noticed particularly those quarterly ones, those are the ones that almost leave with a new sense of momentum. But at the same time, you're not starting at day 1 again now. You're starting at 3 months into it or a year and a half into it. You've had all this momentum, but now you just refreshed yourself, and it just makes life, I feel like, consistently exciting. So turning it into a game, like having those expectations of those hard days coming through, but then just doing reviews regularly, especially the quarterly ones for that long-term momentum. And obviously you want to be resetting your power list every day and making sure you're set up from those regards. Do all that, but also do that quarterly review so that way you're staying focused on that bigger goal and you feel like you're moving forward and you are getting a sense of who you are. That's where it gets a lot of fun. And that's where, again, it goes back to, it feels more like a game rather than something that I'm forcing myself to sit down and do every day. So that's where I was before. Whereas if I'm just moving forward, taking those little steps every day, so much more fun.